everyone, to a call for judgment. I wanted to do a video. This is a pretty important video. My opinion on how all of this civil war is going to go down, how this division of states is going to go down. I've been talking about it for a few years. And most recently, in the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, we actually have had mainstream alt-right conservatives start seed planting for a national divorce. And of course, we have politicians like Marjorie Taylor Greene who are out there. These are people who are in Congress who are talking about having a national divorce of blue and red states. I've been talking about this because of the seed planting, because this is what it's going to lead to, not because this is what I want to happen, this is what I think will happen, because they're telling us it's going to happen. And I want to go through these examples with you, as well as tell you how I believe this will go down with the election in 2024. So for those of you that don't know what they're talking about a national divorce, what it is, it would be the red and blue states. It would be different states with different rules. You know, blue states would be mandated magic potions. Blue states would probably all be the states that they do the tests and experiments with the carbon footprint and the smart cities. Blue states, of course, will be pro-abortion, right? All these things that they've made big deals about. And of course, blue states will have all these rights for the LGBT, even though they have just as many rights now. They'll just, they're doing this make-believe thing, pretending that they're oppressed in our society when they're actually on a pedestal. So that'll be what happens in the blue states. The red states will go in a different direction. And then, of course, things will escalate from there with the power grid and all sorts of sabotage will go on. And, of course, the people in the red states, the Republicans, are all going to be in on it. But they're not going to get everybody to turn this country into a communist country. It's not going to work without going through a lot of steps. And we're headed towards that with the 2024 election. So obviously, most of you know, one of the things we've constantly seen is how the liberals don't have any laws for that, right? They constantly are showing us in the news crimes being committed and criminals getting let out of jail and criminals coming into our country, and everyone's like, why is this, what is going on? Aren't we all Americans? Shouldn't this be? It's being done obviously on purpose. And then we're seeing, of course, the Biden and Trump narrative, which is the big one, with the whole FBI, DOJ, CIA working for the Democratic Party. This is done by design, okay? This is being done deliberately, not just because they're going to continue to push communism, because they want to drive people who are conservative insane. This, of course, again, leading to a national divorce. So let's take a look, though, at some of the seed planting, because the alt-right media, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, all of them, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they've all been talking about a national divorce. And that's the reason that those guys at the Daily Wire and stuff do not get censored. They don't get censored because they're doing their part. Yes, a lot of the stuff that they say is good, and we would all agree with, right? But that's the point. That's how COINTELPRO works. Okay, that's how it works. They draw you in, and then they make you want a national divorce. This is what the government wants. They want a national divorce. They want us divided by states. Okay, they want that. That's how this is going to go. They know they're not going to get all of our guns. They know all this stuff is going to happen by dividing us first, and then little by little, they're going to create psyops and false flags in the conservative states, and they're going to use HARP. That's how this stuff is going to go down. But let's take a look at some of how they've been discussing quietly, of course, not quietly, but it's laying seeds, planting seeds of a national divorce, which was pretty much unheard of up until recently.
Today on the Matt Walsh Show, is it now officially and finally time for us to break up? Do we need a national divorce?
America is a nation divided. So what should we do about it? Well, according to GOP Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the solution is a national divorce. That is a direct quote. She tweeted this week that we need to separate by red states and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this, from the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' traitorous America last policies. We are done. She tweeted about it once, and then she tweeted about it again and again, and she just kept tweeting about it. And if all of that wasn't enough, Greene felt the need to elaborate further on all of this.
Why don't you just
a national divorce is not a civil war. It's actually separating by red states and blue states, and making state rights and state power a lot stronger than it is right now. It would be shrinking the federal government. I think it's something that we should work towards because, you know, it's kind of the vision that our founding fathers had for America. And I think it's a great one. It worked in the beginning. We just got it completely out of control.
But 66% of Southern Republicans are in favor of seceding from the U.S. 66% of Republicans in the South supported leaving the U.S. and just forming a new country.
So again, that's how the seed planting works. So then we have to say to ourselves, problem, reaction, solution, right? How are we going to get to a national divorce, right? Because people's blood is boiling. It's boiling over what's happening with children in the schools, what they're being taught, right? You can count these things on one hand. It's the parades and those things that are going on, what's being sold in stores. Then it's the censorship of conservatives, the censorship of Christians, okay? Then we move towards how we see these stories, which are all make-believe, being played out on TV. Trump's going to jail. Trump's being indicted on TV. But Biden's not being. Why is there nothing going on with Biden and his son? Why are they ignoring that? Why are they ignoring it? Why are they ignoring it? They're ignoring it on purpose. They're ignoring it because it's a psychological war, and they're doing it to drive you insane. So, that being said, what I believe, one of the things, and this is just a possibility, I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen. I'm not a YouTube prophet. I'm just telling you what I see. When I look at these things, I watch repetition and pattern because that is just the most basic way that they do mind control. They beat it in your head. People think it's this complicated thing where they're like, oh, mind control, like they're putting, lasers into your head. Repetition, repetition, repetition. That's what they do. They just continually say the same thing, and then people regurgitate it and believe it as true. The repetition that I'm seeing and have seen over the last couple of years, but specifically now, is the polling, right? They're talking about how Donald Trump is so much higher in the polls, and on the other hand, they're talking about how Joe Biden has the lowest approval rating in American history, that even liberals don't want him to run, that even 2/3 of the American public don't think that he is going to be or fit to be president, right? That ties in with him stumbling, him falling, all of these things, saying ridiculous things, slurring. This is all done by design. They wouldn't air this stuff on TV. There's delays in the television. They would cut out the falling and the tripping. They wouldn't blast it all over the media. They wouldn't put it on the liberal media also, unless they want you to see it. So that being said, look at that narrative right there. Everybody, just like I said, and if some of you will, can vouch for it, I said before the midterm elections that the Republicans were not going to win, even though we just heard how it was going to be a red storm was the narrative, right? Red storm, and even the liberal media was reporting out, oh boy, we're in trouble, and of course, what ends up happening? There's no red storm, right? So what are the seeds that start coming out of that? Oh, conservatives saying that the elections are rigged, that this can't be right. What's going on here? Books being written about it. Books being written about the 2020 election. And of course, the big narrative of conservatives believing that elections are rigged. Now, is that true? Of course it's true. They're not rigged. These people are selected on both sides. Your vote hasn't counted in a long time. So look at the narrative here with the polling between Trump and Biden and all of this stuff that we've heard over the years, including this weekend.
And our brand new poll that spells trouble for President Biden. His approval rating is at a record low. Over 2/3 of Americans say he's too old for another term. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has the story. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. Well, we are still a long ways out, but these numbers this morning certainly are cause for concern for Democrats. This morning, new warning signs for President Biden's campaign. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows his approval rating at a new low, just 36%, the lowest of any first-term president a year and a half ago.
Must be the love, because it's driving me crazy, baby. Must be the love, yeah, because it's driving me crazy.
Away from the next election. A top concern, his age. More Americans than not say Biden is too old for a second term, far more than question Donald Trump's age, even though the Republican frontrunner is less than 4 years younger than Biden.
That required a hell of a lot of wisdom. I know more than the vast majority of people. I'm more experienced than anybody who's ever run for the office.
Trump is also receiving higher marks on the economy. A majority of Americans now say the former president did a better job handling the economy than Biden has so far.
And Mary, right now, at least in our poll, both DeSantis and Trump leading President Biden.
Yeah, George, and a lot, of course, can change between now and November 2024, but these numbers are stunning. In a hypothetical matchup, Donald Trump leads President Biden 49 to 42%. Governor DeSantis also leading with similar results. It's just a sign that so far this race is shaping up to be more about President Biden than his competitors. But the Biden campaign this morning is dismissing these poll numbers, saying Biden will defy conventional Beltway wisdom to win a second term.
I want to let you all know, and this is something that you know, this is something that I know. President Trump is beating Joe Biden poll after poll after poll. He's up 7 points today. And if he were to run against Kamala Harris, he's up 11 points, which is funny. All right, Georgia, let's get the job done in 24. Let's get President Trump across the line. Let's get him back in the White House for 4 more years.
So what I believe is going to occur is that everybody is going to believe that Trump is going to win. Everybody. Because the Republican conservatives will have enough where they will split from this. The liberals will not, because the liberals want to control your life. They want to get into your bedrooms and into your homes. And liberals are weak. They're not leaders. They're followers, right? But they're, they're not going to just lead their way and be like, we're leaving the United States of America. The whole narrative is that they believe that they're going to believe that communism is still, capitalism. They don't even know what communism is. They're not even going to realize, they're still going to think it's a democracy, that their vote counts and all this stuff. They have a really just insane sense of reality. As you see some of the articles I've been flashing on the screen where they're saying conservatives want to get into your home and they want to control you. It's unbelievable. They're the ones who censor. They're the ones who want in the schools. They're the ones who want access to your kids. So they have no sense of what's actually going on, which obviously the CIA and the government know this already. So if Donald Trump was to lose to Joe Biden, that would be probably the icing on the cake that begins the national divorce. Because then everybody will say, there is no chance that anybody voted for Joe Biden. There's no way that anybody went and actually cast a vote for this guy. This entire thing is rigged. This entire thing is rigged. And all the laws and all the rules are set for Democrats where they're free and they can do what they want. And every law is restricted against conservatives and Christians, and they're told that they're terrorists. We have to break free. And that, to me, is where I see this narrative going. Because I know a lot of people look at this, and they go, I don't understand, though. How are we going to get there? Right? How are we going to get there? Well, a catastrophic event isn't going to get us there. World War III and something with Russia is not going to get us there. It's something along the lines of where people have had enough. Trump comes out after the election, says this whole thing is rigged. We need to do something else. All the Republicans in Congress who are all actors, like Taylor Greene, all of them. They'll come, there's the faces we always see, Lauren Boebert. They always come out, right? And they always say things that sound great to everybody out there who sees what's going on, but they're puppets. They're doing that on purpose because they're in power and they've done nothing. They just go and talk. They do nothing. They have power to do things. That's what they're elected for. They do nothing, right? They talk about the Biden stuff. They're like, we got to do something. So do something. If it's real, do something about it. I mean, we had a president impeached over having an affair. You tell me we wouldn't have a president impeached over illegal dealings with China, giving our land and stuff, all this stuff that's happened with China with Joe Biden? That would be grounds for impeachment in 3 seconds, okay? So the show will continue on in that route. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. I'm kind of ranting and rambling. To recap, national divorce, the blue and red states, different laws, different rules, right? They've already divided us where we're at a point where conservative people cannot even be around liberal people and vice versa, right? Everybody hates one another. You could, it's funny with liberals, they don't even realize, you don't even need to talk to them. You could see them a mile away. They all dress and look the same, their hair color, they're all, it's pretty clear, it's like a species. Talk the same way. So anyway, you could spot them a mile away. But everybody's divided so much so, it's just a matter of how do they get them divided into the states. And the precursor for that was all of the subliminal messaging they've done with Florida, New York, and California, and Texas, right? Everybody's fleeing California. Everybody's heading to Florida. Oh, liberals are going to California. Oh, liberals are staying and heading in New York, and conservatives are leaving. I mean, it's all been there subliminally to show us that there's going to be conservative and liberal states. The stuff like Roe v. Wade, when it happened, I mentioned how deliberate that was. Like, nobody was clamoring. It wasn't like this big daily topic. It was in place, and then suddenly they just remove it. As the world is, so disgusting and disturbing as it is, why would these people suddenly do that? Yet the stuff in the libraries and the schools is okay with the kids, because they knew it would rile up that side. They know that that's going to be a big talking point because, the whole my body, my choice thing has gotten brainwashed into people thinking like, not even thinking about the basics of what abortion is. They just think it has something to do with them having no rights, right? And all the racial stuff as well, and all the stuff with the police. These are all things that have been created to lure people into these specific states. And this is why the conservative alt-right media isn't censored and is important to the CIA. And that's why a lot of them are plants. I mean, we know Shapiro. I mean, what more do I have to say than Shapiro? We know who he works for. He shows on his own channel where he heads all the time on nice little vacations. So we know where he gets his intel from. And he pushed the same thing. They draw people in because they bait them in with the stuff about, the trans and the LGBT, because sane people know what's going on is insane. So they're baited in and they're like, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about. I agree with this guy. And then they start planting seeds of, hey, I think we're headed towards a national divorce. I think we need a national divorce. Conservatives and liberals don't. Instead of going out there trying to do what I'm trying to do, and this has something to do with me, but I'm saying, all of us are trying to do, which is tell people, look, it's both sides. It's both of them. If the people just realize that the reason that we, the left and the right can't stand one another is because they're doing it. They're the ones who are taking away Roe v. Wade, and they're the ones who are putting the trans in the schools. They're the ones who are, the big corporations are promoting pride, censoring conservatives, right? Then telling us about how the polling numbers show it be impossible for liberals to win. Then the liberals win, so they're making people question the whole system, and if it's a democracy or it's a republic or what is going on, right? Right? It makes your head explode. So that's what I believe this is headed towards, is them using this 2024 election for it. Then it gives them time, a little bit of time to start in 2025 with the separation, using Trump, of course, as the leader of it, riling the troops, getting them to go. And again, we're going to end up getting sucked into this stuff, even though we know it's fake, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not living in a blue state. I'm not living in a state, it doesn't really matter right now if you're in a blue state or a red state, but it will matter, right? If you're in a very, very, if you're in California right now, it does kind of matter, but let's say, give me a liberal state that's like not a big deal. Let's say like New Hampshire or something, right? Okay. New Hampshire, Vermont, somewhere over there in the East Coast, Northeast. Okay, you're there right now. It's not a big deal. But suddenly when they tell you that you need to wear a mask, and suddenly when they tell you it's mandated that you have to have the potion to work, then you're going to want out. And that's what's going to end up happening. And then, that's going to go to smart cities and things like that, electric vehicles. So we're all going to get driven out by those things at a certain point in time, because, I'm not living, I am not, conforming to that stuff. I'm not driving a flaming electric vehicle that's ready to catch fire in 5 seconds where they can monitor and track me. And I know the majority of you won't either. And that's what they're going to end up doing. They're going to mandate these things in specific states to herd people out. That's what I believe is going to happen. I wanted to do a video on it. I've wanted to for a while, so I felt like ranting about it now. So just to recap again, the things to look at: the narrative of the national divorce, the alt-right plants, whether it's the people in power who, they've made Marjorie Taylor Greene like this huge celebrity. Like all the late night shows talk about her. She's always like featured in the news. Everything she says gets put out there. And, the MAGA crowd loves her. That's all done by design. And then, of course, all the alt-right people who are all major MAGA, Shapiro, everybody at the Daily Wire pretty much. And I'm not saying every single person is a plant. Some of them could just wrongfully, not understandingly be doing this stuff, and I get it. Like, I don't want to be around liberal people after what they've done to their brains, but I also don't want to be around the conservative people who are also under mind control, who are like MAGA, They're all just zombies walking around. But obviously, I'd rather be around the latter of the two because I really am not going to be around insane, lunatics who want to castrate themselves. So that narrative with the alt-right, obviously we just keep hearing the C planning with the national divorce, and then the polling. What's it going to take with the polling combination along with the rules for thee, not for me, of how the liberals get away with murder, literally, and conservatives get their voices taken away? It's just pushing people to the brink, and obviously I'm a victim of that. It bothers me greatly beyond belief what they continue to do to people like me. And, the polling numbers. People will not believe or trust in the system if this happens again in 2024, because it's all they've talked about. From 2016, from Trump winning, the liberals were like, the election's real. Then 2020, the Republicans saying the elections are rigged. It'll be a big one in 2024. Guarantee you. Years and years and years and years of planting, repetition, and just pounding into your head is how we're going to get there. I thank everyone for being here. Hope you're doing well. God bless you and your families.